Right, children. Now we are going to start the second part of the additional exercises. We will go through the additional exercise number 13. There are 3 questions given. How do we see objects? Now, do you remember I explained you how can we see objects, children? We will explain that again. Let's see that if they are a source of light, let's say if this is the light bulb, when this light bulb is lighted, let's see that if there's a flower pot like this, how can we see this object, children? Now, when there's a source of light, the light rays fall onto the object first, and this light rays bounces back. Now we know the term used for this bouncing back process. This is known as the reflection. The light rays falls onto these objects, gets reflected and comes to our eyes, and then we can see these objects, right? Only if a source of light is there, these type of objects we can see, right? Let's say during the night time, if there's no any source of light, can we see these type of objects? We cannot. Why? That is because of, in order to see these objects, the light falls onto these objects should bounces back and comes to our eyes, right? Only if that process happens, we can see the objects, right? So with the help of a source of light, we can see the objects very clearly, right? Okay, how do we see objects? The light falls on the objects, get reflected, and the light falls on the objects, gets reflected and reaches our eyes. Then we can see the objects. Okay. What are luminous objects? What is the meaning of luminous objects? The objects that can produce their own light are known as luminous objects, right? The objects that can emit their own light are called luminous objects. Right? The objects that can emit their own light are called luminous objects. Right? Write 3 examples for luminous objects. Now this is very easy. Luminous objects: sun, stars. We will write living being too. Firefly. Right? They all can emit their own light. Therefore, these are luminous objects. Right? Let's move on to the next one. Right. Exercise number 14. What are non-luminous objects? Now, luminous objects means the objects that can emit their own light or produce their own light. What is the meaning of non-luminous objects? Non-luminous objects are the objects that do not emit light. Okay, let's write. The objects which do not emit light are non-luminous objects. Right, children? The objects which do not emit light are non-luminous objects. Non-luminous objects, okay? Number 2. Someone in a bright place cannot see the objects in the dark, but someone in the dark can see the objects in a bright place. Explain this. Now children, how can we see objects? In order to see objects, light rays should fall on these objects and then those light rays should bounce back to our eyes. Then only we can see the objects. So in this case, if we want to see the objects should be in a bright place, right? Then only the objects will get light, enough amounts of lights, right? Now that light will come to our eyes and we can see the objects. So someone in a bright place cannot see the objects in the dark. Even though the person in a bright place, the objects are dark, right? So light will not fall onto the objects and there are no light rays that reaches our eyes, okay? But someone in the dark can see the objects in a bright place. Here in this instance, even though the person is in the dark, the objects are in a bright place so that the objects will get enough light. So those light rays will fall onto the objects and these light rays will get reflected and reaches the person's eye even though the person is in the dark, right? So that is the reason behind this. We will write. Someone in a bright place cannot see the objects in the dark. The objects in a dark place do not get light. Therefore, light rays reflected by the objects. The light rays reflected by the objects will not come to the person's eye. However, when the objects are in a bright place, they get enough light. They get enough light. Therefore, even though the person is in dark, the light rays reflected by the objects will come to his eyes. come to his eyes. Okay, children, we will read this answer. The objects in a dark place do not get light. Therefore, light rays reflected by the objects will not come to the person's eye. That is because there's no light rays fall onto the object to reflect, right? If the light rays should get reflected by the objects for us to see them, first of all, some kind of light rays should fall onto the objects. But here, because the objects are at a dark place, in a dark place, they will not get enough light, right? So in order to reflect at the lights, there's no enough light. So even though the person is in a bright place, because the objects do not get light, the person cannot see the objects. Because in order to see the objects, these light rays should nicely enter the person's eyes. Okay? The second instance. However, when the objects are in a bright place, they get enough light, right? Therefore, even though the person is in dark, the light rays reflected by the objects will come to his eyes. No matter the person is in a bright place or dark place, if the objects are in a bright place, the person can see the objects. Understand, children? Right. Name a natural luminous object. Luminous objects are the objects that can emit their own light, right? Natural luminous objects, the sun, stars, some organisms like fireflies, they are coming under natural luminous objects, right? Name a natural luminous object. We will write stars. Okay, we'll move on to the next. Additional exercise 15. Light travels through some materials very well. What are these materials called? What is the name of these materials, children? Yes, these are the transparent materials. Let's write. Transparent materials. Next one. Give 2 examples for such materials. Now, we know a lot of examples. Colorless polythene, colorless polythene. Then we can write thin glass, right? Colorless polythene and thin glass are examples for transparent materials, right? Moving to the next. Light does not travel through some materials. What are these materials called? Some materials don't let light to pass through them at all, right? These are known as opaque materials. Let's write. Opaque materials. And give 2 examples for such materials. Opaque materials, cardboard, black paper, wooden boards and metal sheets, they all are coming under opaque materials. Let's write. Cardboard, black paper, okay, children? Okay, the next one. Light travels through some materials partially, which means only part of the light will travel through certain materials. So what are these materials? What are these materials called? These are translucent materials, okay? Translucent materials. And give 2 examples for such materials. Oil paper, tissue paper. We can write those examples here. Decorative glass, frosted glass, okay, children? We'll move on to the next. Additional exercise 18. look at this activity, children. Do you remember we did the same activity in the lab, right? We kept 3 cardboards in a line, right? So we fixed these cardboards onto the table, as if all these 3 holes are in the same level, in a straight line, right? And when we look through these 3 holes, we could see the candle flame. Okay? Right. How should the 3 cards be positioned in order to see the candle flame when looking through the hole in the middle of card A? Right? We will first name them. This one is A, B, C. Right? How should the 3 cards be positioned in order to see the candle flame when looking through the hole in the middle of card A? This is A. When you look through this one, in order to observe the flame of the candle very clearly, how should we position these 3 cards? How should we place them, children? As the holes are in a straight line. We should position the cards, all 3 cards, as the 3 holes are in a straight line. Only if we place it in a straight line, through the straight line, we can see the candle. What is the reason behind this? Because the light travels only through a straight line. Understand? Let's try. How should the 3 cards be positioned in order to see the candle flame when looking through the hole in the middle of card A? The holes of the 3 cards should be in a straight line. So when you position the cards properly, the holes of the 3 cards should be in a 3 line. Okay, straight line. Right. What is the conclusion that can be drawn from the above activity? Why did we do this activity? To prove that light travels in a straight path or a linear path. Okay, we'll write. What is the conclusion? That the light travels in a straight line. Okay, what is the conclusion that can be drawn from the above activity? That the light travels in a straight line. Okay. 19. Draw the diagram of a light ray. Now, this is very easy for you all. We did this many times, right? To draw a diagram of a light ray, you always have to draw a straight line because light travels in a straight line. Not only that, we have to show the direction by using an arrow. Okay, children? What is the next one? Write the names of the following light beams. Now, this is for your additional knowledge. Even during the lesson, I explained you all this one, right? There are different types of light beams. Now, this is the most common type of light beam we learned even in the textbook, right? What is this light beam, children? Now, light beam is a collection of light rays. Now, when you look at this light beam, you all can see that the light rays are parallel to each other. So, this type of light beam is known as a parallel light beam. Look at the first one. You all can see light rays coming from different directions to the same point. They are coming from different directions to the same point. What is the name given to these type of light beams, children? These type of light beams are known as a convergent beam. This is a convergent beam, right? What about this one? You all can see starting from the same point, light travels to different directions, right? This type of light beams are known as divergent beams, right? We will write. This is a convergent beam. convergent beam, divergent beam, divergent beam, and this is a parallel beam. Parallel beam. Okay, we'll move to the next. Exercise 20. Look at this diagram. This is the same activity we did before, right? A transparent glass bottle was filled with soap dissolved water. Now this is the glass bottle, soap dissolved water present. Then a laser beam was directed towards the bottle as given in the diagram. What can you observe here? What is the observation, children? Do you remember we did the same activity in the lab, right? First we use normal water, right? Clear water we use, clean water we use. When we directed the laser beam torch towards this normal water, we couldn't see the path of the laser beam. That is because the normal water is a transparent material. So we cannot see the path of light through it. So then what we did was we made the medium a little translucent by dissolving soap, right? Now here we have the soap dissolved water. What did we observe here, children? This is the same activity we did before. So when we directed the laser beam torch, we could see the path of this laser beam or the laser light travels through this soap dissolved water in a straight line, right? Let's write. The laser light travels through the soap dissolved water in a straight line. The laser light travels through soap dissolved water in a straight line. That was the observation, right? Exercise number 21. Light is important to see objects clearly. That is one importance of light, one application of light. Write four other uses of light. Now we know a list of these uses, so applications. Let's write down. Right. Number 1. For photosynthesis, which means the production of food by plants, right? For photosynthesis. Right? As signals in traffic lights and in lighthouses, light is used as signals, right? As signals. In the medical field, in the medical field, in the medical field, for communication, okay, you're right, 4 other uses, okay? For photosynthesis, as signals, in the medical field, for communication, we need to use light, okay? Exercise number 22. A certain process that is important to all living beings takes place in green plants. What is it? What is this process? The most important process out of all the processes we discussed in this lesson, that is photosynthesis, right? Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis. Okay. Which energy is needed for that process? What is the energy needed? Now for photosynthesis, 4 factors are affecting. Sunlight, carbon dioxide gas in the atmosphere, soil, water and chlorophylls in the green color leaves. Okay. So which energy is needed? The energy is supplied by solar energy, by the sun. Therefore, the energy needed is solar energy. or we can write even light energy of sun. We will write light energy. That is why only during the daylight this process takes place. Light energy. Okay, children. Why is that process important to all living beings? Why do we consider this is as this photosynthesis is one important process, children? Now, during the lesson we discussed that plants can produce food and all the other animals depend on the plants directly or indirectly. Herbivores directly depend on plants and carnivores indirectly depend on plants. Okay, so if not for plants, animals also will not get their food and eventually the animals also will die. Right, children? So plants are very important. Like plants produce energy by this process, photosynthesis. Okay, children? So why is that process important? Because of this process, all the living beings get their food. That is the first instance. What are the other important functions of this photosynthesis? Now, do you remember in the first lesson we learned during photosynthesis, as a byproduct, as an extra product, oxygen gas is released to the environment, right? Oxygen is released to the environment. So, oxygen is a very important gas in the environment because we use oxygen for respiration. Right? All the living beings use oxygen for respiration. Therefore, it's very important to have enough amounts of oxygen gas in the environment, in the atmosphere. So, by this process, photosynthesis, oxygen is released to the environment. Okay, children? So, this process provides oxygen for the living beings for respiration. That is the other important factor, right? Let's write this. Why is that process important to all living beings? All the animals directly or indirectly depend on plants. Therefore, due to this process, animals get food. Animals get food. And the next one, during photosynthesis, oxygen gases released. This oxygen is important for respiration. Okay, children? All the animals directly or indirectly depend on plants. Therefore, due to this process, animals get food. Okay? During photosynthesis, oxygen gas is released. This oxygen is important for respiration. Okay? So, in another way, this process, because of photosynthesis process, the environment gets purified. Okay? More oxygen is added to the environment. Understand? Exercise 23. Mention 3 ways to get light at night. Now, during the night time, there is no sunlight. So we have to opt for different other methods to get light. What are the other methods? We can use lighted bulbs, right? Lighted candles, lighted lamps. Okay, let's write 3 ways to get light at night. By lighting bulbs, by lighting lamps, by lighting candles, okay, by lighting bulbs, lamps, candles, we can get in light at night. Okay, next one, exercise number 24. Number 1, lighthouses release a powerful beam of light from the top of a tall tower, right? What is the use of this light? So because of this light emitted by the lighthouses, what is the most important part? The sailors, during the night time, the sailors can sailors can find out where the land is, right? So during the night time, they cannot see through the darkness. Therefore, it's very important to see this type of light to understand where the land is. Okay, we will write. This helps sailors to find the land at night. Okay, this helps sailors to find the land at night. So in this instance, light is used as signals. Okay. 25. Mention another instance where light is used as a signal. Now earlier we discussed about lighthouses, right? Another instance where light is used as a signal. What is another example? We can write traffic lights. In traffic lights, 3 different colors are used as signals. Okay, mention another instance. In traffic lights. In traffic lights. Okay. Number 2. Optical fibers are used for communication. Which form of energy is used to transmit messages through optical fibers? They are to transmit messages through optical fibers. We use light energy, right? We will write that one. Now we have completed the lesson. So I think you learned a lot of new things from this lesson. So we did a lot of activities, all these experiments. Remember, you all can try all these experiments at home. And we did a lot of exercises so that I hope you all have understood the lesson better. So in order to understand this lesson better, you can do the same activities again and again so that you can practice all these questions and answers again.